Hello everybody and welcome back to the Hive Herald Network for our second test battle. Today we'll be playing on a Zone Mortalis board in preparation for the upcoming campaign for our channel. The terrain used is a combination of 3D printed items and kits from Games Workshop, and I will be hoping to do a follow-up video on here soon just showing you how I created the board and the painting effects used, and also I'll be hoping to add lots of extra things such as graffiti and transfers which are currently sat in my hobby kit ready to go. I do hope this inspires the community to go out there and make their own boards. I can tell you this now, I'm a complete novice, and if I can do it, anybody can. After some feedback on my first test, I'm hoping this time to include a little bit more explanation of the rules for newer players, and hopefully that will help improve players' viewing experience. Hopefully, at the beginning, it'll be a bit more rules heavy, and towards the back end of the video, that'll get a bit lighter as players start to understand more what's going on. If you've got any comments or feedback you'd like to give, please leave them in the comments, and I'll look forward to making the channel better going forwards. So today's battle, smash and grab. One gang is moving valuable merchandise for a guild of contacts, the other gang wants the loot. In the scenario, the attacker can bring up to 10 models from their gang and they can choose who they bring, whereas the defender has random selection d6+3, meaning they don't know how many or who's going to turn up to the battle. After deployment, the defender sets up 5 loot crates within their deployment zone, at least 4 inches away from the battlefield edge, and without the attacker seeing. 3 of these are marked with an A, 1 with a B, and 1 with a T. A stands for ammo, B is blank, and T is trap. The objective of the battle is the attacker wants to steal the guilder's loot crates, and the defender is determined to drive the attacker off empty-handed. At the end of the battle, if more A's are open than closed, the attacker wins. Otherwise, the defender wins. If the B is open, this is blank. Shame, you got nothing there. But if the T is open, well, this is a trap. The casket's removed and a frag grenade is centered straight on the person that opened it, and they get to deal with the consequences. As for the back of the card, this deals with ending the battle, fleeing the battlefield, and victory as just mentioned. There is another section such as rewards, experience and reputation. However, because this is just a test battle, this is all irrelevant and we will actually cover that today. So today's attackers from House Orlock, we have the Iron Hounds. First we have Red the Wrecker with his stub gun, jump booster and demolition charge. Then we have Barrett with his shotgun, photon flash grenade, smoke grenades, mesh armour, iron hard and shotgun savant skill. He's the arms master to watch today. Then we have Slick Michaels, the road sergeant, with his stub gun, plasma gun, mesh armour. He has the Nerves of Steel skill despite what his card says, and is too pretty for Primus. Moving on from there with our first gunner, Razor, dependable with an auto gun. From there we move on to Crow, the road captain, has a stub gun, plasma pistol, servo claw, mesh armour, true grit skill and the legendary name Blade Breaker. This is the one to watch, the leader of the gang, very scary, very well built. From here, we have another gunner, which is Mad Dog Morgan, equipped with a combat shotgun. Then we have Crag, the gunner specialist, with his grenade launcher, bringing some heavy firepower. And finally, we have our last gunner, Jax, also equipped with an auto gun. So, rolling up to see how many fighters turn up for the defender. 6, that's d6+3, giving them 9 of their 10 total available models. So after the random selection, we were left with 9 of the available 10 models for the Redemptionists today. So leading the gang, we've got Earl, the Redemptionist Priest, and he's equipped with a shotgun with solid and scatter shells, 2 chain axes, one of which has an exterminator, and the Unshakable Conviction skill, meaning he can't be coup de grace in combat, and he'll be a bit of a handful today. From here, we've got Dwight, the Firebrand, and he's equipped with a chain glaive, reclaimed auto gun, and blasting charges. He has a skill Bull Charge, which is hoping to utilise that chain glaive to maximum effect. And he also has Bomb Delivery Rats, which is hoping to strap blasting charges to and go wreak havoc on the enemy gang. Next up, we have Jeffro, the Redemptionist Brethren Specialist. Again, grenade launcher in the gang, bit of heavy firepower. Then we move on to the standard Brethren, and we've got Obi with the blunderbuss polearm, which has grape shot and percutation rounds. And from here we have Lloyd, also with a polearm with blunderbuss, grape shot and percutation rounds. These two gangers offer a bit of long range combat and some extra flame firepower for the Cawdor Brethren. From here we move on to the chaff of the house, the Bone Pickers. So first up we've got Floyd, equipped only with a reclaimed auto pistol. Then we have Griff, another one also with a stub gun. From here, we move on to the remaining 2. So first up is Dodge, another one with a reclaimed auto pistol. And our final member will be Flint with the stub gun. The stub guns offer a bit of decent shooting at short range with a +2 to hit, and the auto pistol within 4 inches, again a little bit better to shoot, but not very accurate. Finally, the last model shown here is Homer the Deacon. Sadly, he wasn't selected today. So as per the scenario rules, both gangs get to choose 2 tactics cards. However, we did this randomly as it is a one-off skirmish game. So Cawdor drew Divine Avatar and Redemption, and due to Homer not turning up, they get a bonus tactics card, which in this instance is No Prisoners. I'm not going to explain the tactics cards right now, I'll explain them as and when they're used. House Orlock, their random selection, they drew Protection Duty, which will give them an extra model, which again we'll explain shortly, and Tough as Nails, making one of the fighters almost impossible to take out. So as previously mentioned, we've got 5 crates, we've got a trap, 3 ammo and a blank, and they get set up in the Cawdor deployment zone when the Orlock player is not watching, and we do that as follows. So on the left flank, we have an ammo crate. Moving over to the middle, we then have a trap and a blank, hoping to lure the Orlock into the middle of the field. And then finally, on the right hand side, we have 2 more ammo crates. Cawdor jobs to protect them, Orlocks to steal them. So for this battle report, I wanted to use my Zone Mortalis style dice tray. However, my large one's unpainted, but I wanted to use it for at least 1 roll before switching to the smaller painted one. The first roll is for deployment. Who sets up first, but as a trade-off gets to go first. So for Cawdor, it's a 4, and for House Orlock, it's a 1. So at the start of the deployment phase, House Cawdor play the Divine Avatar Tactics card. This allows them to choose 1 champion or a leader, and in this case they choose the leader, and until the end of this battle that fighter gains a Terrifying special role. Terrifying is if an enemy fighter wishes to make a fight basic or shoot basic action that targets this fighter, they must first pass a willpower check. If the check is failed, they cannot perform the action and their turn ends immediately, and if at any point in the battle the leader is taken out or seriously injured, then the Gang Tactics card has no further effect for the remainder of the game. At the same time, House Orlock play the Protection Duty Tactics card, which allows their gang to be joined by a Rebel Lord as a one-off for this battle, who will leave the gang and doesn't stay with their crew permanently. In this case, the model is represented by a House Van Saar model, and the rules can be found in the Book of Judgment. If the Rebel Lord is taken out during the game, every friendly fighter suffers a -2 modifier to their cool for the remainder of the battle. Additionally, there are some further rules which are part of a campaign, and again, as a one-off, we won't be using those today. So for Cawdor, on the left flank, we've got the Bone Picker Dodge. Then as we move towards the centre of the table, we've got the Bone Pickers Floyd and Griff, and they're accompanied by the Firebrand Dwight, and the Brethren Lloyd with his polearm. As we move further over to the right hand side, in cover, waiting ready to gain the elevation for his grenade launcher, is the Redemptionist Specialist Jethro. And finally on the right hand flank, we've got Obi with his polearm, Earl the Priest, and Flint the Bone Picker. So for House Orlock, their deployment is as follows. On the left hand flank, there is the Road Sergeant Slick Michaels with his plasma gun, and he's accompanied by Crag, the Orlock Specialist, and his grenade launcher. Moving further over towards the centre, we have 2 gunners, both with auto guns. We've got Jax and Razor. Then moving to a hidden alcove, we have Crow, the Road Captain, Mad Dog Morgan the Gunner with his combat shotgun, and then we have Mistronus, the Rebel Lord, accompanying the gang on this mission. And lastly, as we move over to the right flank, we've got Barrett the Arms Master with his shotgun, and he's accompanied by Red the Wrecker, who was ready to blast forward and steal those ammo crates on the right flank. So the last tactics card played before the game starts is Tough as Nails for House Orlock. With this, they get to choose a fighter with a gang hierarchy X, in this case it's Barrett the Arms Master, and for the remainder of this battle, you have to roll a d6 each time the chosen fighter suffers a wound. On a 2+, that wound is ignored, and on a 1, the fighter suffers the wound as normal and the Gang Tactics card is immediately discarded. So the first activation of the game, the Bone Picker Griff very tentatively decides to walk to the door in front of him, and rather than opening it to let Orlock through, he sits and waits to see what happens next. The Orlocks, wanting to take advantage of that weakened flank on their right hand side, first up Red decides to walk down initially, then then gunning his jump pack, blasts further forward, getting very close to the Cawdor ahead. Back over to House Cawdor, and the Firebrand Dwight does a group activation, activating both himself and the Bone Picker Floyd. First up, Floyd uses his first action to walk forward, and then for his second action decides to open the door, ready for the crew to go through. With the door ahead of him now open, Dwight decides to step into cover and prime a bomb delivery rat as the next action. With this, he needs to take an intelligence check on 2d6, needing a 6 or higher when you look at his stats. However, he rolls a 4 and a 1, which is a failure. So then he has to roll a scatter dice to see which direction the rat runs in, praying it doesn't scatter into one of his own crew members. And thankfully it runs in an opposite direction. Because it is a grenade, he has to roll up to see if he runs out of ammo on the blasting charges, needing a 5+. And again rolls a 1, so no more grenades, and currently not in control of the rat. On the Orlock right flank, the Arms Master Barrett decides to join red, taking his first action as a move, and then his second action, also a move. Over on the Cawdor right flank, the Bone Picker Flint decides to move, and then move again, trying to close the gap between him and the Orlocks. In the Orlock centre, Crow the leader decides to group activate both himself, Mad Dog Morgan, and Mistronus the Rebel Lord. Starting with Mad Dog Morgan the gunner, his first action is a move. Then his second action, another move, tucked up nicely behind a closed door, ready for the next round. Moving back to Crow, he also uses his first action to make a move. Does this in the direction of Morgan, and for his second action, also tucks up nicely behind the door. Finally, the Rebel Lord Mistronus, not wanting to be left alone, uses his first action to catch up towards Mad Dog, and then with his second action, also tucks up behind the door, ready for the next round. Over on the Cawdor right flank, Obi the Brethren with his polearm decides to chase up after Flint, with his first move action taking him into the pipe field, and then with his second action decides to hop over the pipes and catch up to Flint. Over on the Orlock left, Slick Michaels, the Road Sergeant, group activates both himself and the Specialist Crag. Crag up first with his grenade launcher, moves towards the stairs, and then with his second action moves to the bottom of the stairs, ready to rain down grenades from turn 2. Slick himself, not wanting to be left alone, uses his first action to move after Crag, and then with his second action moves to the bottom of the stairs, facing the rear however, protecting that flank. Over on the Cawdor right flank, the Redemptionist Priest Earl uses his first action to move into the pipe fields, then uses his second action to overtake Obi right behind Flint, ready for the next round. Over in the Orlock centre, Razor the Gunner decides to use both his actions to move up the stairs ahead, going for high ground, and pushing that little bit further forward, ready for the shots next turn. Over in the Cawdor centre, Lloyd the Brethren, sensing a bit of weakness on the left with a Bone Picker dodge on his own. I know, this kind of intelligence fooled even me. With his first action, decides to move towards the wall. Then with his second action, moves towards a staircase, looking to protect the ammo crate, and also ready to rain down any flames on those Orlocks coming round the corner. Back in the Orlock centre, Jax the Gunner decides to catch up to Razor, using his first action to move up the stairs. And then with his second action, decides to move up to catch up to Razor, priming his auto gun, ready to rain down lead on those Cawdor coming ahead. Up next for Cawdor, the Specialist Jethro uses his first action to move up the gantry ahead of him, hiding behind the ammo crate. And with a clear line of sight, he levels his grenade launcher at Jax and Razor, the two gunners. With shooting, a model uses its BS characteristic, which stands for ballistic skill, applying any modifiers for things such as soft cover, giving -1, or hard cover, giving -2 to hit. And then you also look at the weapons modifiers. Under the accuracy, ACC of the weapon, with S is short range and L is long range. There may be modifiers. For example, with a grenade launcher at short range, which is 6 inches or less, there would be an additional -1 to hit. So with no negative modifiers for accuracy or for cover, Jeffro needs a straightforward 4+ to hit his target as per his BS characteristic. And rolling up, he scores a 4 and 2 bullets on the ammo dice, which means no ammo roll is required at this time, which I will explain when that comes up. So, looking at the weapons traits, you can see it has the knockback roll. What this means is when you roll to hit, if the hit roll, in this case which was a 4, is higher than the target's T, which stands for toughness, then what happens is the model gets pushed back 1 inch, and if it comes into contact with anything such as cover or another model, it will take an additional point of damage. Comparing the statistics of Razor and Jax, you can see their T, toughness, is 3, so as a result, both models are pushed back 1 inch. The only exception is the model straight under the hole, where we have to roll a scatter dice to see which direction that they get pushed back. Once a model's been hit, we then need to determine if they're wounded. So for each hit, you then have to check the strength of the attack versus the toughness of the target. If the strength is equal to the toughness, then each D6 would require a 4+ to wound. However, if the strength is greater than the toughness, it would be a 3+, and if the strength is twice the toughness or greater, a 2+. This also works the other way, so tougher targets are harder to wound. So if the strength of the attack is lower than the target's toughness, you'd require a 5+ to wound, and if the strength of the attack is half, as in 2 versus 4, you would require a 6 to wound, making those tough targets really hard to take down with low strength weapons. So back to our shot, the frag grenade has a strength of 3, and against Razor's toughness 3, that's a 4+ required to wound. And a 1, meaning in this instance he is pinned only, taking cover. On to Jax, also with a toughness of 3, meaning we need a 4+ to wound. And again it's another 1, meaning he's also only pinned. With Orlock having no actions left, it's all down to Cawdor from here. On the left flank, Dodge uses his first action to move forward towards the barrels, and levelling his reclaimed auto pistol, he takes an aimed shot at Red the Wrecker. As the barrels between the pair obscure Red slightly, this means Dodge has a -1 to hit modifier, meaning normally his ballistic skill 5+ would go to a 6+, but because he's only 4 inches away, he gets +1 with his reclaimed auto pistol, meaning that he needs a 5+ still to make the shot. Rolling up, he scores a 5 and 2 on the ammo dice, as in 2 bullet holes. As mentioned previously, weapon traits have different effects. In this instance, rapid fire means that when you roll the ammo dice, which you roll every time you take a shot, the bullet holes displayed in the dice is the actual number of times that you hit the enemy. So in this example, Dodge has hit Red twice. So because we have 2 hits, we now need to roll 2 dice to see if we wound. The reclaimed auto pistol has a strength of 3, and Red has a toughness of 3, meaning we need 4s to wound. Rolling 2 dice, we get a 4 and a 6. This means Red now loses 2 wounds, and would normally get a chance to make an armour save. However, Red's not wearing any armour, so this is straight up down to -1 wounds, which in this case means 2 injury rolls are required. Rolling 2 of the special injury dice that come with Necromunda, we get 2 flesh wounds. Very interesting. Red's still alive, he's still going, but he's -2 toughness and pinned for the time being. At the end of the round, House Cawdor roll 9 dice, 1 per fighter on the board, looking for 5s and 6s to generate faith points. Rolling up, and they get 2 faith points for the pull. So at the start of turn 2, rolling for priority, we get a 4 for Cawdor and a 1 for Orlock, meaning Cawdor go first again. At the start of the round, Dwight, the firebrand, gets to check to see if any bomb rats are within 9 inches of him. In this case, it still is. Now we know it's 6 inches from the last turn. Makes an intelligence check to see if he can regain control of the rat, and rolls double 6. The rat's back under his command and moves right where he wants it. So starting the turn for House Cawdor, Dodge, the bone picker on the left flank, after his ballsy manoeuvre of charging forward and shooting at Red, leaving him heavily injured on the floor, he decides with his first action to retreat back towards the cargo he's there to protect. And then after thinking a little bit more, realised there's strength in numbers and retreats once more to get himself next to Lloyd the Brethren. There's strength in numbers, and that's what Cawdor do best. So starting the round for the Orlocks, Razor the Gunner uses his first action to get to his feet, and then priming his auto gun, he spots the head of Ale in the distance, the priest. With -2 to hit, he's going to need a 6 to hit. Rolling up, and he gets a 6 with 2 hits. As the weapon's rapid fire, that's 2 chances to wound against Ale's toughness of 3, needing 4s. And he scores a 2 and a 1, meaning no wounds this time, but it does leave Ale pinned. Jeffro, seeing that Razor hasn't learned his lesson, decides to use his first action to aim, which would give him +1 on his next shoot attack, and he switches his grenade launcher to Crack. As you can see from the profile, Crack Grenade loses the blast trait, however it has a higher strength and a higher damage output, meaning if it hits it's going to hurt a hell of a lot more. Needing a 3+ to hit, Jeffro rolls, and he scores a 3 with no ammo check required. Thanks to the strength 6 of the weapon and the toughness 3, this is double, meaning only a 2+ is required to wound. And a wound is scored, and because Razor has no armour, this is a straight injury roll. 2 dice, and we get an out of action and serious injury. This means Razor's out of the game, and in a campaign it would require an injury roll, which in this instance is 43, grievous injury. He would miss the next game. Because Jax is within 3 inches of Razor when he's taken out, he has to take a nerve check on 2d6, rolling higher than his cool to not break and run. Rolling up, 6 and a 5, he's safe. Up for the Orlocks, Slick Michaels, the road sergeant, decides to group activate both himself and Crag the gunner specialist. With the plasma gun and grenade launcher, they want to bring this heavy firepower to bear and do some serious damage to the House Cawdor fighters that are encroaching on their position. With his first action, he rams the pillar and levels his plasma gun. Normally ballistic skill 3, but with the short range modifier on either power setting, he's always going to hit on a 2. Rolling up, and he rolls a 1, and not only this, he rolls an ammo die at the same time. Because he needs to make an ammo check, he needs to roll a 5+ as per the weapon settings. However, due to the scarce trait, if he fails, the weapon's out of ammo for the remainder of the game. And he rolls a 3. Devastating. To continue the group activation, Crag uses his first action to move up the staircase ahead of him. Then switching to crack grenades, levels his grenade launcher at Jeffro, hoping to return the earlier favour. Due to the hard cover, it's going to be -2 to hit, meaning his normal ballistic skill of 4+ now goes to a 6, making it an almost impossible shot to make. And at this point, we don't have the dice footage due to an error, however I can confirm no ammo check was required and the shot was a miss. Outraged at the Orlock attackers, the Priest Ale group activates himself, Obi, and the Bone Picker Flint. With his first action, he stands to his feet, and then with the Exterminator cartridge fitted to his chain axe, he lets loose a torrent of flame. It's a one-shot weapon, so no ammo or hit roll is required. Then it's a strength 3 attack versus the toughness of 3 of Slick Michaels, meaning he needs a 4+ to wound, and he rolls a 1. However, due to the blaze trait, he gets to roll an additional dice, and on a 4+, Slick Michaels will be set on fire. Rolling up, and it's a 4. Next up, the Bone Picker Flint uses his first action to move closer to Slick Michaels to get that extra +2 to hit, and takes a shot with his stub gun, needing a 3+ thanks to the bonus, and he rolls up, and he gets a 5, no ammo check required. Strength 3 versus toughness 3, it would be a 4+ to wound, however he rolls a 2. Normally Slick would be pinned at this point, however, thanks to the Nerves of Steel skill, he gets to make a quick cool check on 2d6, needing a 6 to not be pinned. Rolling up, and he gets 7. Next up, Obi declares a charge. He gets to make his movement of 5 inches plus D3 to see how far he travels. Rolling up, he gets a 1, giving him that extra inch. However, it's not needed. The pole arm has a reach of 2, meaning that he gets there very easily. Charge! Next up, he has to roll to hit. He has 1 attack on his profile, marked by an A, and he gets an extra attack for charging. For this, he has to roll up on his weapon skill, needing a 4+. As with shooting weapons, you check for accuracy to see if there are any minus modifiers. With a polearm, if he goes base to base with an enemy fighter, he gets -1 to hit. However, at long range, at 2 inches, which is what he is, there are no modifiers. So, rolling up, he gets a 5 and a 1, scoring 1 hit. The polearm gives him strength +1, which makes him strength 4. Against Slick Michael's toughness of 3, that means he needs a 3 to wound. Rolling up, and he gets a 3. Now in this case, Slick has mesh armour. It's the first time we've had an armour save to make in the game. Mesh armour grants a 5+ save to Slick. Normally, any modifiers would be made to this with the AP of a weapon. However, the polearm has no negative modifiers. That means a straight 5+ and he ignores the wound altogether. Rolling up, and he gets a 3. Slick takes his first wound of the game. Now back with the Orlocks, the Road Captain Crow group activates himself, the Rebel Lord, and the Gunner Mad Dog Morgan. With his first action, Crow decides to open the door in front of him. Then he steps through, heading out into the corridor, looking to join the fight against the Cawdor. Up next is Mad Dog Morgan. He uses his first action to step through following Crow. But with an action still to spare, he runs forward, hiding behind the pipe network. Then the final member of the group activation, Mr. Onus the Rebel Lord, uses his first action to walk into the corridor behind Crow. Then with his second action, follows up towards Mad Dog. House Cawdor next, not wanting to back out of a fight, the Bone Picker Floyd looks through the door, sees it's safe, uses his first action to step through, and then with his second action, moves further forward into cover, ready to fight those Orlocks coming down the corridor. Barrett the Arms Master next, uses his first action to step up to the Cowardly Wrecker on the floor, then uses his second action to step up to the barrels, priming his shotgun, ready for the next round. After seeing Floyd step through the door and not get shot to pieces, next up, Dwight group activates himself and Griff. First sending Griff through. Again, making sure the coast is clear. With his first action he steps through. Then with his second action, he steps up to catch up to Floyd. Next, Dwight also steps through the door. And then for his second action, moves into cover behind the Bone Pickers, trying to be careful to remain within 9 inches of his bomb rat. After seeing Razor explode, Jax tries to be a bit more clever. Using his first action, he stands up on the gantry, and then eyeing up a place of good cover, he runs forward to take refuge behind the ammo crate. Lloyd, looking for high ground, uses his first action to walk up some stairs, and as his second action, he progresses along the walkway, ready to unleash the flames of the righteousness against the oncoming Orlocks next turn. Next up, the Red Wrecker uses his first action to get to his feet, and then with his second action, blasts over the gantry wall, looking to seek cover around the pipe network on the other side. Cawdor rolling 9 dice again, trying to generate faith points, and this time they get an extra 4, taking the total tally to 6. Turn 3 and the priority roll goes Cawdor 3, Orlock 2, Cawdor again. So at the start of the round, Dwight takes an intelligence check requiring a 6 or more, and he scores 9, meaning he's still in control of his bomb rat, and again he can move it forward towards the enemy. Lloyd of House Cawdor spots the weak wrecker ahead, and as his first action, steps forward, and then for the second, activates his blunderbuss and levels a purgation template straight at him. Strength 3 against toughness 1 thanks to the 2 flesh wounds that the wrecker has now received. He rolls up, firstly for ammo, no ammo required, needing a 2+ to wound, and he gets it. Rolling an injury die, it's a straight up serious injury, meaning the wrecker's now in a bad place on the floor. To make matters worse though, a chance to roll to see if he sets on fire. And he rolls a 1, no flames today. Frustrated with his lack of involvement so far, the road captain Crow decides to group activate himself, the Rebel Lord, and Mad Dog Morgan, splitting them up to go balls to the lines. Up first, the risky move. Morgan steps out into the open and levels his combat shotgun with a shredder round. As it's a template, it hits all 3 models, rolling a quick ammo die, scoring a 1. There's no need for any further ammo checks. Due to the scatter shot rule, he gets to roll a d6 to see how many times he hits each model. So rolling first against the first model in the line, that would be Flint. He rolls a die and he gets 6. 6 hits at strength 2 versus Flint's toughness 3. Needing 5s to wound. And he rolls 2 6s. That means 2 injury rolls because he has no armour. And he gets 2 serious injury results, leaving Flint on the floor. Next in the firing line is Griff. Rolling up, and it's 5 hits against him. Again, needing 5s to wound. Rolling up. 2 6s, 2 5s. That's 4 more injury rolls. 1 out of action, 1 serious injury, and 2 flesh wounds. Now to Dwight, the 3rd model under the template, rolling the d6 to see how many hits there are, and it's a 6. This is the most impactful shredder shot I've ever seen. Rolling up, looking for 5s. Only 1 wound is scored, with 1 seriously injured, 1 out of action, and 1 wounded. That was such an impactful shot from the combat shotgun and just shows what a deadly weapon it really is. With the damage done, the rest of the group activation continues, starting with the Rebel Lord, who does 1 move action, and then takes another move action towards the double doors, looking to bolster the left flank. Lastly, Crow uses his first action to move along the pipe network, then uses his final action to move behind the barrels. With 1 eye on Jeffro, he's looking to silence that grenade launcher for good. Looking to do what he does best, Earl the Priest preps both his chain axes and declares a charge. Rolling the d3 to see how much further movement he can gain, he gets a 5, not that this matters, he's got more than enough reach to get straight into Slick Michaels. Charge! Earl, having 2 attacks on his profile, gets an additional attack for charging and a further attack for having 2 weapons with the melee trait. As such, he gets 4 attacks. They get +1 to hit because of the accuracy rating on the chain axe, meaning all 4 dice require a 2+. Rolling up, and all 4 hit. Next, he's looking for 3s to wound, as it is strength +1, taken into strength 4. Rolling, and he scores 2 wounds. As Slick's wearing mesh armour, he gets 2 opportunities to save these wounds, needing a 5+ normally. However, the AP on the chain axe is -1, meaning he needs to roll 6s to save the wounds. When he rolls, he gets 1 6, which means 1 wound goes through, and due to a previous wound, that's enough to take him to 0 wounds. Rolling for injury, and we get a serious injury, and because it's a serious injury in close combat, Earl gets to make a free coup de grace, taking Slick Michaels out of action. Jax, looking for vengeance on Jeffro for what he did to Razor, aims his auto gun, giving him +1 to hit. However, the hard cover gives a -2 to that roll, meaning he needs a 5+ to hit. Rolling the die, he gets a 3 and an ammo check required. Rolling this up, he gets a 1, meaning his auto gun's out of ammo for now until he reloads it later. Obi next, looking to pour more flames into House Orlock, takes a move action, and then a second move action, moving him up the stairs and along the gantry into the rear of House Orlock. Seeing a chance for such an easy target, Crag turns on the spot and points his grenade launcher straight at Obi, taking an aim action first, looking for a 3+ to hit, and he gets a 2. No ammo roll required, but it's also not a hit. Jeffro the Specialist next, and he aims his grenade launcher with a frag grenade at the Rebel Lord down below. He gets +1 because of his aiming, however -2 because of the hardcover, meaning he needs a 5 to hit. Rolling, he gets a 4, which is a miss. Rolling the scatter, however, the grenade hits the wall right next to the Rebel Lord, causing a hit to be scored. Because a 4 was rolled to hit, the knockback kicks in, pushing the Rebel Lord away and pinning him. And then a wound roll is made, needing a 4+ due to strength 3, toughness 3, and a 6 is rolled, causing a wound. Although, because the Rebel Lord is wearing light carapace armour, he does get a chance to save the wound, needing a 4+. Rolling, and he gets a 3, so it is still definitely a wound. While seriously injured, the only action that Red can take is a double action to move half his movement to crawl into safety, which he does. Next up, the Bone Picker Flint uses his incredible speed to climb the ladder next to him, run across the gantry, and bring his stub guns to bear on Crag in front of him. With +2 for the short range, he only needs a 3 to hit. However, rolling the dice, he still gets a 2 and still misses. No ammo check required. Up next, Barrett the Arms Master takes a step back and levels his shotgun with scatter shells up at Lloyd and Brethren. +2 for short range cancels out the hard cover. Rolling to hit, needing a 3, he gets a 4. Because of the scatter shot rule, he rolls to see how many hits he gets. Rolling a 1. However, due to the Arms Master skill, he gets to re-roll this and comes back with a 6. With a strength value of 2 and a toughness of 3, it's going to be 5s to wound. Rolling all 6 dice, there's just 1 5 scoring a wound. However, Lloyd has no armour, so it's a straight to injury die as it takes him to 0 wounds. And a serious injury is rolled. That's another member of House Cawdor down and bleeding. For Cawdor, a group activation between Floyd and Dwight. First, Floyd uses a double action to crawl himself to safety. Then next, the firebrand Dwight uses his first action to stand on his feet, and then levels his auto gun at the Mad Dog in front of him. Needing a 3+ to hit, he rolls a 6 and scores 1 hit. Then with the strength 3 of the weapon versus the toughness 3 of Mad Dog, it's a 4+ to wound, which he gets. And finally, as he's got no armour, it's an injury dice to see what happens to Mad Dog. Rolling up, and it's a serious injury. During the end phase, Cawdor play the tactics card No Prisoners, and what this states is during this end phase, seriously injured enemy fighters when making recovery tests must roll 2 dice and pick the worst result. The first injury roll for House Cawdor is for Obi, and rolling, it's a serious injury. For now, he's going nowhere. Up next, Red, about to make a recovery test, needs to roll 2 dice as per the No Prisoners tactics card. Because of his 2 flesh wounds already, a flesh wound or an out of action would take him out for the game. Rolling up, that's a serious injury and an out of action. That's him done for the day. Next up, Mad Dog Morgan, again needing to roll 2 dice because of the No Prisoners tactics card. And he rolls, serious injury and out of action. That's another Orlock gone. And lastly for House Cawdor, Floyd rolls to see if he stays in the game, and it's an out of action. Another one bites the dust. The start of round 4 and rolling for initiative, Cawdor get a 6, Orlock a 4, Cawdor to go first. House Cawdor rolling up for their faith points. With 7 dice, they generate 4 additional faith points. However, with only 7 models left on the board, some of these dice are discarded as the pool is now full. As it's the start of the round, Dwight the Firebrand needs to take an intelligence check, trying to score a 6 to take control of his rat. Rolling 2 3s, the rat still is to command and he sends it forward towards the Orlocks. So up first for Cawdor, Obi takes a step back to open up his blunderbuss for the best possible round from a purgation shot, and he auto hits both Crag and Jax. No ammo check is required, this dice was rolled but didn't record. With a strength of 3 and a toughness of 3, Crag needs a 4 to be wounded, and it's a 1. However, because of the blaze trait, a further dice is rolled and a 4 is achieved, meaning that Crag's now on fire. Yeah! Moving on to Jax, same again, strength 3, toughness 3, 4+ to wound. and 1 is rolled, and again trying to see if Blaze kicks in, and another 1, no flames here. Both models pinned and 1 burning, a great result for Obi. Barrett the Arms Master, sensing fear in dodge, uses his first action to step forward. Then cocking his shotgun, he prepares a solid slug to put him straight into his face. At such close range with a modifier, it's +1 to hit, meaning he needs a 2. And he gets a 6. The weapon is strength 4 versus dodge's toughness of 3. So on this occasion, it's a 3+ to wound. And he scores a 5. Because the weapon's damage 2, it's 2 injury dice rolled as dodge has no armour. And rolling for that, we get serious injury and a flesh wound. Not only is he knocked back 1 inch, but he's left bleeding on the floor and -1 toughness for the rest of the battle. Earl the Priest decides to call upon his acts of faith and his belief in the Emperor. And without thought he smote them down. Rolling 3 dice, requiring a 5 in total, he scores a total of 8. The power is achieved, and now he gets to make a free charge, but gets -2 to his hit modifiers for the rest of the round. Rolling a 6, he gained 3 extra inches of movement. However, he fell short of his target, but as this was a free action, he now gets to use both his actions and declares another charge, rolling a 5 to get him 3 extra inches, although he really was only about 2 inches away. So with 2 attacks on his profile, an additional 1 for charging and 1 for having 2 combat weapons, Earl's rolling 4 dice. With his weapon modifier, he's normally hitting on a 2, however the Article of Faith give him -2 for the round, meaning he's hitting on 4s. Rolling the dice, he scores 2 hits, and with a chain axe being strength +1, he needs 3s to wound with strength 4 versus toughness 3, and he gets double 2. No injuries scored. Because Crag is still standing, he gets a chance to retaliate against Earl. Initially he was pinned, which means he's counted as turning to face Earl, so he gets a -1 to hit modifier. Normally hitting on a 4, he now needs a 5. Roll the dice, he gets a 1. This combat's been a bit of a dud. Next up, Crow, having had enough of Jeffro, uses his first action to walk towards the elevator, and then with his second activation, thumbs the elevator to the top floor. Flint next, trying to impress Earl, uses his first action to walk up to the edge, and seeing the prone Rebel Lord on the floor, decides to level his stub gun at him. With +2 to hit at such close range, he only needs a 3 to hit. Rolling up, and he gets a 2. What a useless bone picker. Outraged at the audacity of Flint, the Rebel Lord uses his first action to stand to his feet, and then levelling both of his mastercrafted las pistols, he utilises the twin guns blazing roll, which allows him to shoot 2 pistols at the same target for an additional -1 to hit. Normally hitting on 3s with his ballistic skill, the -1 takes it to a 4, however the short range of a las pistol increases this back up to a 3+. Rolling 2 dice with 2 ammo, he scores a 3 and a 2, so 1 hits, 1 misses, and it requires an ammo check as well. The las pistol, being very reliable, is an ammo check of a 2+, and he scores a 6, nice and easily passed. To wound, he needs a 4+ with a strength of 3 and a toughness of 3, however he rolls a 1. This causes Flint to still be pinned, however, and with him being within half an inch of a ledge, he has to take an initiative check to avoid falling to his doom. Needing a 3+, he scores a 5. Dodge, just trying to survive, uses his double action to crawl to safety behind the pipes. Jax, even though he could sense his own doom, was also overpowered by greed. He uses his first action to stand to his feet, and being stood next to a loot crate, he decides to open it. Roll the dice to see what it is, and he gets a 1. It's a frag trap. The trap is removed, and a template is centered straight over him. With it being strength 3, toughness 3, it takes an instant wound on a roll of a 4+. Rolling the dice, and it's a 5, straight to an injury roll. What's going to happen? Out of action. This is just not Jax's day. Lloyd next, following Dodge's example, decides to use a double action to crawl to safety. Next up, Crag activates, and first he takes a strength 3 hit from the flames that he's doused in, doing a 4+ to wound, and it's a 4. Because he has no armour, it's a straight up injury roll, and that is a flesh wound. He now has a chance to try and put the flames out. Because he's still standing, he needs a 6 to do this, and he rolls a 3. Still burning, still bleeding. So up next, OB. And a few eagle-eyed viewers out there, you'll realise this is the second time he's activated this round. Absolutely mistake on my part. That's what happens when you don't use activation tokens. So first up, he declares a charge. Rolling up a 1, he gets an extra inch to his charge, which is more than enough he needed to get into contact with Crag. Charge! He has 1 attack on his profile, an extra 1 for charging, and he would normally be hitting on 4s. However, he gets +1 due to the assist from Ale, meaning he needs to hit on 3s. Rolling the dice, he gets a 4 and a 3, 2 hits. And then because of the weapon, he gets +1 strength, which takes it to strength 4. However, because it's a flesh wound on Crag, he's now toughness 2, which means it's a 2+ to wound. Rolling the dice, he gets a 4 and a 2, so that's 2 wounds. Rolling straight for injury, and he gets an out of action and a serious injury. That's Crag out of the game. With only House Cawdor fighters left now, first up the Firebrand Dwight uses his first activation to round the corner on the Rebel Lord, and then levelling his reclaimed auto gun at the fighter. He gets -2 to hit because of the pipe in the way, which means he now hits on a 5+. Rolling the dice, he scores a 6 and 2 hits with a rapid fire weapon. With 2 hits scored, it's now time to roll to wound. Strength 3 versus toughness 3 means 4+ are required. Rolling the dice, we get 6 and a 3, 1 wound. The Rebel Lord has light carapace armour, giving him a chance to save on a 4+. Rolling the dice, and it's a 3. That's an additional wound on the Rebel Lord. He's now pinned and down to his last wound. Last up for Cawdor, Jeffro, the Redemptionist Specialist. With his first action, he decides to conduct a valorous retreat and moves down the stairs behind him to a place of safety. However, levelling his grenade launcher at Crow, he tries to fire off a quick crack grenade to take down the Orlock leader. Rolling the dice, and he scores a 1. No chance while he's running. At this point, rolling for bottle checks. Orlock, roll a 2, with the 3 models down, that's a 5. They're not breaking. And Cawdor, they roll a 4, and with the 2 models down, they're also not breaking. Rolling for injuries in the end phase. First up Lloyd, and he's still seriously injured. Then next for Cawdor, the only other model on the board that's injured is Dodge, rolling again, and again, still seriously injured. Start at turn 5, rolling for initiative. Cawdor get a 2, Orlock a 6. Orlock's 10 to go first. So at the start of the round, Dwight still needs to test to see if he's in control of the bomb rat, which is within 9 inches of him. Did 6+ on 2d6. He scores 12. So he sends the bomb delivery rat directly towards the Rebel Lord. So to start the round, Crow declares a charge on Jeffro, did a 3+ to make that 2-inch gap, and he rolled a 1, meaning he just fell short of the charge, and that was the end of his turn. Up next, O with the cheat, and with his first action, he moves to the ledge, looking down on the Rebel Lord. With his blunderbuss, he opens up with a purgation round. With a strength of 3 and a toughness of 3, he needs a 4+ to wound, rolling the ammo dice at the same time to see if the weapon runs out, and he scores a 3, so no wound is scored. He then gets to roll the dice to see if he can set the Rebel Lord on fire, and he gets a 6. Barrett next, being an inch short of being able to walk up and coup de grace Dodge directly, he decides to declare a charge and do it that way. However, tenacious till the end, Dodge plays the Redemption Tactics card, meaning that when he's taken out, you centre a 3-inch blast marker on top of him and the fighter gets hit as if by a frag grenade. With a strength of 3, toughness of 3, it's a 4+ required to wound Barrett, and it's a 6, meaning if he fails his 5+ save, he's going to take a wound. For his armour, he rolls a 1. That's 1 wound on Barrett. However, due to the Tough as Nails Tactics card played earlier in the game, he gets to roll a dice, and on a 2+, he ignores the wound altogether. Rolling the die, and he scores a 5. There's no wound after all. Next up, Earl the Priest uses his first action to walk towards the ledge. Then with his second, levels his shotgun at the Rebel Lord below. Needing a 3+ to hit thanks to the range modifier, he scores a 2, so manages to miss this time. Again another cheat, believing that the Rebel Lord had already been. Flint uses his first action to stand up, and then levelled his stub gun at the Rebel Lord on the ground. Needing a 3+ to hit, he scored a 6 and an ammo roll required. However, the plentiful roll means a 4+ is required, which is failed, putting Flint out of action. And then finally, strength 3 versus toughness 3, 4+ to wound, and 2. Next up for Cawdor, Dwight. Declaring a charge, he rolls his dice, and with him getting a 4, he gets 2 extra inches of movement. With a Chainglaive's massive range, this is more than enough to take him into contact with the Rebel Lord. With 2 attacks on his profile and 1 for charging, he's hitting on 3s, and he scores 2 6s and a 1. The Chainglaive boasts an impressive strength +2, making Dwight strength 5 in combat, meaning he needs 3s to wound because he's not quite double the toughness of the Rebel Lord. Rolling the dice, and he scores 2 4s, that's 2 wounds. Now the Chainglaive's also damage 2, which means if they're not saved, it becomes 4 injury dice rolled. The Orlock, wearing light carapace armour, has a 4+ armour save normally, but again, the Chainglaive has -2 to the AP, meaning that the Rebel Lord needs 6s to make the saves. Rolling the dice, gets a 5 and a 1. No armour saves today, and the 4 injury dice rolled are 2 out of actions, 2 serious injuries. Jeffro, still seeing the value in retreat, decides to again make a move action further along the gantry away from Crow. And again tries to level another crack grenade shot into the Orlock leader. Running to hit, and it's a 2. You ain't getting Crow. Into the end phase, and it's time for bottle checks. Orlock rolling a 5. Even with the Arms Master bonus, they're broken, and Cawdor a 4, they've held the nerve. Making a recovery roll for Lloyd, and he's out of action. That's him out for the rest of the battle. With the Orlock bottle checks, Crow managed to score a 9 and stay on the board. However, Barrett scores a 5, running away to fight another day. Rolling for initiative, and this is a big one. Orlocks get a 2 and Cawdor a 1. Orlocks go first. So at the start of the round, Dwight testing his intelligence to take control of his bomb rat again, needing a 6, scores a 7, and then sends his bomb rat running towards the elevator to chase after Crow. Crow activating first declares a charge, rolling a 1, and making it to Jeffro finally. With 2 attacks on his profile, 1 for charging and then 1 for having a pistol and melee weapon, he rolls 4 dice, looking for 3s, and scores 2 hits with his servo claw. At strength 5 versus toughness 3, it's a 3+ to wound, and rolling them, he gets a 5 and a 2. As the weapon is damaged 2 and there's no armour on Jeffro, it's 2 injury dice required. Rolling them up, and we get out of action and serious injury. Crow finally has his kill. With Crow taking out Jeffro and being the only member of House Orlock left, it's all now down to House Cawdor to do all of their activations. As Crow is left so close to the ammo crates that Cawdor are meant to be protecting, they spend all of their activations moving up to positions to either take shots at Crow next turn or to run and catch up to him to try and stop him. coming into the end of the round. Crow feeling good about his position. Tests his cool to make sure he doesn't bottle. And rolling a double one, that's the end of the Orlock and the end of the battle. And that concludes the second battle report. I do hope everyone's still enjoying the channel. I have tried to make this battle report a little bit more user friendly for newer players. Going forwards, I will try and do a tutorial video explaining the rules for new players and try and make things a little more simple on the channel just to keep the videos shorter, more concise and to the point. If you've got any feedback or comments, please leave them below. Thank you very much for your time today and thanks for tuning in to the Hive Herald Network.